Okay, let's go ahead and get started there, everybody. So I'm kind of coming at this a little late right at this point. Normally I'd be starting around 1 o'clock, and it's closer to 2 o'clock now. Um, but um, was informed that my friend Blackheart is dealing with some storms right at this moment in time where he's at, so he's going to have to kind of back on out from Unreal. So I figured I might as well just go ahead and do the, my Pega video like normal, and then we'll do some video uploads, and then we'll handle uh, Genshin Impact later on tonight. So again, no Unreal study session today. Um, I'll see about maybe. Well, I still want to have a kind of record down our conversation, so maybe I'll hold off on trying to explain the discussion that Blackheart and I had concerning Unreal yesterday. Um, concerning sound waves and all that, but we'll I figure it's probably better for us to kind of record that conversation down so I can try to um, make sure everybody's on the same page, including, whatever audience that we have during these Unreal discussions. So, um, but um, obviously that doesn't really affect, um, you know, this Pega portion of the video all that much. But I figure, if you're watching the stream right at this moment in time, this is stuff that's going to be, going on. So, um, which, I encourage anybody that is watching these videos, come on by if you can, if you can. Obviously, time zones can be a bitch when it comes to watching someone. Believe me, I understand. Um, so, I mean, unless you somehow decide that, you're going to like completely change around your sleep schedule or something along those lines, and let's face it, that's not easy. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, especially if you have to deal with like work, as well. So, if you're dealing with like a full-time job and it's like full-time job or watching Jim stream, yeah, full-time job there, folks. Don't really want you losing your job over me. That'd be silly, stupid. Okay. Um, so let's explain what these videos are concerning Pega, who I am, why I'm doing them, so on and so forth. So, a little bit about me. I am currently an unemployed software developer whose last job was working with the Pega environment. Um, my last employer was put, 15 to 20 of us. I can't remember the exact number. It was around there. Into a group, and we eventually had a authorized training partner, you know, that was trying to teach us Pega. However, pretty much a good majority of us was not appreciating or really, uh, well, I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot of appreciation because we felt that he was doing a really bad job at trying to teach us about Pega. He wasn't really answering our questions. He basically, there was one time where he commented about how our computers were too slow to handle our, the download of Pega on our personal computers, when in fact it is a beast of a program in Java that is really difficult to manage on you know, on a normal PC, any PC really. Okay, server would be able to handle it, easier because it has a lot more resources built into it to handle the amount that of work that goes into Pega. Okay, but you know it is not a memory efficient program. Okay, I will just kind of mention that. Okay, whenever you look at the difference between C and C++ versus Java, typically C and C++ have faster memory management. Because you can create memory and you can delete memory right then and there. Now, creating memory, creating objects in Java is, just as fast, I would imagine, kind of. Um, but deleting it isn't. You know, you don't really, I mean, you could use the functions in C to remove the memory, but, it's typically left to the garbage collector, which, um, while sure it's fast, you know, when compared to C++, is it? Um, I would I would imagine most people would say no. Just saying. Okay. Because once again, in C and C++, you can remove the memory. Gone. Uh, with garbage collection, you don't know exactly when that happens. Now, I'm not saying that garbage collection isn't exactly um, slow by any means. Um, I'm just putting a one-to-one comparison to the two. Okay, that's it. So, um, okay. So, uh, but yeah, we had issues with the guy. So, a lot of us went self-study. Okay, we pretty much was ignoring his training, and studied the Pega Academy ourselves. Okay, so we started working on it ourselves. The one and only time that I was forced to take the certification, I knew that I wasn't ready. I had not covered enough of the material to pass the certification, but they basically said either take it or you're gonna get laid off. And I didn't really want to get laid off at that time. Um, oh, I mean, hell, I don't really want to get laid off. Period. Right? I want to be able to work. I want to be able to get paid. But so I took it. I failed it. It wasn't that much of a surprise to me. I mean, I got close to passing ish. If I got on like 6 more questions right, I would have passed. But um, the problems that I encountered was one, I didn't have all the material studied, so obviously there was questions that I wasn't familiar with, or wasn't sure about, how to handle certain, some of those situations. And two, there was also some Pega 7 questions in the mix, talking about Pega 7 keywords that we had not studied in 8.6. So I didn't even know about those. So it was quite a frustrating ordeal. But now, um, after the training was done, we asked to be put back into a different training cycle with a different instructor, but was denied. We were basically pushed into a contract, and that was it. Now, could I have continued my self-study and gotten my certification? Yes, I could have. Would I've really uh, been appreciative of a mentor to help me out on said contract job? Yes, I really would have, but that didn't happen. Um, both in both cases, I didn't put in the work to try to figure out, how to figure Pega out more to, take the certification and pass it. And I wasn't really given a mentor to help me out with that. So it was just a messy situation altogether. But but this is my attempt to work through and try to get the certification myself, using my time here while streaming to do so. Recording these videos so that if there's any questions that you the viewer might have, or I have during this process, we can go ahead and try to address them in the comment section, or right now live in chat. you know Either way is perfectly fine, perfectly reasonable. Okay, so now, um just know, though, that I'm working towards my certification in the, system architect. Okay. I'm not an authorized training partner, and do not consider this instructor-led training. I am neither one of those. Okay. I'm not an instructor. I'm not an authorized training partner. Okay. I'm just someone, a software developer who's working towards his certification. Okay. You can take the instructor-led training if you want. It's, hosted by the Pega Academy, so one would hope that you would have an instructor that knows everything that there is to know about Pega and can teach you everything that there is to teach about Pega. Um, and so, hopefully they teach you in such an efficient manner that you will be able to pass the certification with flying colors. But just know the instructor-led training is a very short program. From what I understand, it's like 15 minutes long, or not 15 minutes long, 2 weeks long. And it, and it's also 5,000 bucks. Okay, so not cheap, not um, not slow. So you are going to be pressured to learn a lot in a short amount of time for quite a bit of money, to try to get your certification. So be prepared to take notes, take video recordings, and ask a lot of questions. Do yourself that favor when you're doing that. So, um, also note, okay, if you're coming into these videos, if you're like watching on YouTube or something like that, you're catching this for the very first time, please note, okay, that business architect is done. Okay, if you are trying to study for the business architect certification, know that I've already covered the 2 missions and 2 modules for 8.7 already. Okay, so look at my playlist that I have up for the Pega certification. Okay, and go through these 2 missions and 2 modules. They're, start at the very top and you work your way down. I go through the missions and modules in order, so you shouldn't have any problems trying to follow along if you're following in 8.7. Okay, but note, they already have 8.8 and 23 that is already having, that will already have changes. Okay, I've made suggestions that they have accepted, and they are making edits to those particular topics, modules, module quizzes, and so on and so forth for these Pega platforms, or at least I would hope. I don't really know. I personally haven't, looked into it, because again, my main focus is trying to get the system architect. Also, note these two modules here. Okay, they are a poor attempt, in my opinion, to cover the Pega Express delivery. Okay, so if you want to pass the 12% of the Pega Express delivery, I would not, you know, put all my faith in these two modules to have all the information for you. I would suggest that you go through the Pega Express delivery mission to cover enough information that you're going to need for that 12% for the business architect certification. Okay? Just my opinion. You don't have to take it if you don't want it, but I'm just saying I don't feel these two modules are enough. So, but our main focus right now is to getting through this system architect. We have 8 hours and 25 minutes according to them, which is wrong in my opinion. We have a lot more hours and minutes left to go, but I mean, what can I do? Okay. Now we covered the tracer last time. I tried going over it yesterday, over the tracer management, settings management, but there was not enough time before, not Unreal. Um, so for those of you that are maybe watching this video, don't worry about it. I'm covering it now. So I'm basically deleted that video. So um, it's it had nothing in there, so it was a nothing burger. So I just removed it completely. Okay. So we're going to cover tracer settings management, and then the module quiz for this particular video. So, okay, let's get started. So tracer settings, the tracer log and display events that occur as you use Pega platform. Using the tracer is resource intensive and dramatically slows application performance. So hence the reason why you probably don't really want to use it on a production server. You know, use it, use it in the background. Use it on the development server. Okay. To reduce the impact of running the tracer, open and configure the tracer settings to capture only the required information. Pause logging until you are ready to run the application section that you want to troubleshoot. The tracer toolbar is located above the log display in the upper right corner. The toolbar consists of buttons that enable you to manage the events that it captures. You can only have one tracer per operator per node. So, in the following image, click the plus icons to learn more about the pause, clear, and save buttons on the tracer toolbar. So, pause. Suspends event logging in the tracer. While the tracer is paused, in the lower right corner of the tracer window, tracing stopped or waiting are displayed, and pause is replaced by play. Play resumes the logging event. When the tracer is active in the lower right corner of the tracer window, tracing is displayed. Clear removes all logged events from the screen. So basically, if you've logged up to a certain point, but you don't really see any kind of errors or, you don't see any, um, you know, wrong information being transferred or whatever, then you can just go ahead and clear all those events and you move on with the tracer. So, okay. Save. Generates an XML file that lists the events on the screen. Save the output from the tracer as an XML file for your records or to move forward to other people for troubleshooting. Pega client support may request the tracer output to help find the source of an issue. So, but here's here's the thing that I have with this. Sure, it might save an XML file, but it might not show you all the details inside that particular event. Okay, so I don't really know, but if I'm not mistaken, the XML file will display all the events, you know, such as this, to you, but it doesn't show you what is actually happening inside there. So while sure um, it might kind of show like, hey, there's an error that is happening in the work page for, call handle client errors or something like that. It could, you could see that and, you might look into it further at that point. But, you don't have like direct access to, say, like, the class or anything along those lines at that particular moment of time through the XML file. So, nor is it going to show you all the information that you might see when you click on said event. Um, so I mean, while the XML file might be, um, while it might kind of point the finger to the potential of a problem, to the potential area for the problem, it doesn't really give you the information as to why there's a problem. So, so on one hand, it's like, okay, this might be, it still might be helpful slightly, but it doesn't give you, uh, what's occurring. You know, like if for some reason your field is only wanting, um, you know, uh, alpha characters, alphabet characters, right? A through Z. But maybe the information that gets passed into that field also contains numbers. So it has a problem with that. It crashes during that or something along those lines. Okay. And it maybe tumbles into something that, outright like causes a major problem, down the road. Okay. So that's why I'm saying it's like, sometimes those errors, sure, they might be like going, hey, I don't know what I'm getting here. Like I'm getting an undefined, as input. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, but you wouldn't necessarily see that, right? You wouldn't see, failure due to undefined. Okay, it might be just, hey, you have a problem with this particular step, and that's it. So that's why I'm just like, it might be good in that, it's kind of pointing to that particular area, but you might not understand what the issue is. So it's a double-edged sword. Okay. Refine event logging. Before you begin capturing events, refine what you need to capture by indicating the types of events and break conditions to log by using the settings, breakpoints, watch, and remote tracer buttons in the tracer toolbar. Now, I tried doing this, when I was working before, but I don't know. I was having a hard time trying to get it to work the way I wanted it to work. Um, maybe it was just me. I could have been using it wrong. I don't really know. Okay, but um, I don't know if it's really a like I've seen better debug tools. Okay, just stating that out loud. Okay. Um, so I felt like the breakpoints weren't really breaking um, the watch wasn't really keeping um, the items that I was trying to watch. So there's it felt incomplete. Okay. But again, maybe it was maybe I was still having some difficulty with it or something like that. Maybe it is perfectly fine, but I don't know. I was having some difficulty with it. Okay, but before you begin capturing events, find what you need to capture by indicating the types of events and break conditions to log by using the settings, breakpoints, watch, and remote tracer buttons on the tracer toolbar. In the following image, click the plus icons to learn more about the settings, breakpoints, watch, and remote tracer buttons on the tracer toolbar. So, settings. Select the rule types, rule sets, events, and pages to trace. Identify a tracing and execution break condition. Identify when a step results in an Java exception or a status of fail or warn or other general options. Um, So there's your, potential settings. Breakpoints. Identify when a stop execution once the application reaches an activity or a specified step in an activity. This this right here didn't feel like it was consistent. Like it didn't always stop at that particular point. It felt like. Um, Again, maybe it was just a problem with me, but it didn't feel consistent. So, watch. Monitor a property value or page to detect when the value changes. Again, um, this might be a little difficult because um, some of it might be a temporary, what you might be trying to look for might be a temporary value, okay, that gets changed, like on the PY work page, for example, right? The values might change depending on where you go in the application. So um, sometimes that watch isn't nearly as useful um, because it's like, hey, you set it to watch over this particular variable that will, take in the value, but it doesn't save it to that particular variable. It saves it under like, a PY work page temporary value or something along those lines. So you don't really see the changes happening to it until like, maybe the very end of the application. And by that point, it might be too late. So that's why it's like you have to be really careful when it comes to the watch. That's all. Okay. And remote tracer. Remote tracer trace events that are generated by a service requester or another user. The user must be logged into the application to trace events. Um, this um, this might be useful in terms of you know um, like on your debug server when you have when you set it up so like other devs or your testers are set for the other users or whatnot so that you can try to get it to work properly, um um but that might be a little rough to try to manage or whatnot. I personally haven't. I personally didn't use Remote Tracer because I wasn't necessarily working with someone, you know, at the same time. So nor was, the application that we were working on really didn't have any form um, of like a need for like multiple different users either. So, our device was, the application that, I worked on was more, um, calculating values, and that was it. It gets input, calculates the input into a proper output, and then outputs it, and that was it. There really wasn't any kind of need for another user or anything along those lines in the application that it was dealing with. So, um, so yeah, it was like, on one hand, it's like, okay, well, this could be useful if you're like, trying to check to see whether the problem lies with like, maybe a manager user or, just a standard customer user or something like that. You don't really know. So, um, okay. Settings configuration. Use settings to display the configuration options for your trace to include event types and rules and to enter the number of lines of data to display. You can use the settings options to reduce the amount of information captured. You can filter trace display results by event type, rule set, and break conditions. For example, when you want to exclude local variables from your trace or you want to view which activities run but not their steps, selecting break conditions stop the tracer when the system generates an error. The following two images provide a comparison of the number of events traced before and after activity steps are removed from the list of events to trace. In the image on the left, the trace includes steps for all of the activities performed during the trace. The steps for the finish assignment activity are located on rows 25 through 32. The image on the right shows the trace results of the same activity when activity steps are removed from the events to trace. The finish assignment activity receives one line. For the activity itself, it is located on row 7. In the center of the following image, slide the vertical line to compare the tracer logs. So this is what it's talking about with the, um, from the beginning to end of the activity. Okay. Um, you know, 25 through 32, right? So you have all these, you know, activities for the finish assignment. Okay. Which, again, you know, it starts again back up here at 37, right? But um, so there you go. It's you know now when you slide the bar back across here, you'll notice the fact that you have the finish assignment on 7. But here's where I'm like, wait a second, these aren't exactly the same, right? Because here you have work handle client error. Um, for the um, for the activity, right? And you have 2 there. Okay, so it's showing the fact that it's activity begin and activity end. So it's like, okay, where's the activity ends for the finish assignment? Also, after the handle client error here, you'll notice that it has the finish, another step, or another, um, it basically continues on. Okay, notice how you have the call handle chat errors step again. It goes through the handle client errors, and then it continues on afterwards. Um, so where is it? you know, um, you know, um, where's the ending for this particular activity right at this moment in time? I'm seeing a lot of begins, but not a whole lot of ends here, which is for me would be kind of slightly unsettling if I was to see this. Um, I don't know. It it feels as though these two are different, um, different, checking out two different programs. It feels like to me. But again, I don't know. I can't say for certainty either on it. So, because I don't, I'm not running the tracer program, myself, right? So I don't really know, you know, are they truly doing the tracer program with the settings changed on the same program? I don't know. You know, they're saying that they are, but you know, um, there's some slight differences there that I'm like, is it though? You know, that's why I'm a little hesitant on that. But again, I don't know. You'll have to be more of a judge than I am on that one. All right, so let's move on. So selection options. The following two images show selection options for events to trace, break conditions, general options, event types to trace, and rule sets to trace. So here's your tracer settings and everything that you can check out. Um, um, the types of events that you might want, you know, like, hey, if you don't want any activities whatsoever, you can just kind of remove the start and end, and it will completely ignore it. You want the activity steps removed? Well, you can just uncheck those. Data transforms, so on and so forth. You can completely ignore exceptions or you know, or access deny rules, which is a little weird here because they're saying events to trace. They don't want the start of an exception being traced, but yet they're saying we need to break during a exception here. You would think that as soon as you click on the exception here on the break conditions, it would automatically select the start for the exception on events to trace. Because let's face it, how would you be able to break um, the tracer if you're not even if you're not even logging those particular events at all, right? You know, it's like, congratulations, you're completely ignoring exceptions altogether that it will never break. That's how I'm interpreting it right at this moment in time. So, but I know, hard to say. Um, so scroll through the event types to trace section to view and select the remaining options. So, rule sets to trace, and there's all the different rule sets. Now, this is including a lot of different rule sets that you might not even need. Like if you're working on like just Go Go Road, for example, right? then you might not need all of these other rule sets that are there. Okay, it might be showing you information that is you know, outside the scope of your program, of your application. So, um, so you might need to, um, you know, remove a lot of those rule sets. That might not be necessary for you. So, if you put your change in the rule set um, in say like go road int, right? Well, you know, and it might you know tr- uh, your program might your activity. Let's say you create an activity in go road int, right? For some reason, okay. Um, and you just want to check to see whether or not it's processing the information correctly inside go road int. So you might just deselect all of them and just click on that one particular rule set and just run the trace through that. And it should only display, that go road and int for you, right? Notice the fact that, up here you have like, work, run flow action, right? You know, and here's all your different rule sets that you have. So, you know, it will, like UI engine here, you know, um, maybe you have a, rule set here that has, UI engine. So, maybe you just want to click on that and just, you know, um, confirm like, hey, it's all coming, all happening within that particular rule set for UI engine, maybe. So, um, but most likely not. This is it, more of a Pega rule set, and don't go messing around with Pega rule sets. Create your own. Create your own rule sets. Don't try to add additional rule sets into the Pega environment. Otherwise, you might unintentionally start screwing up the Pega environment directly. So don't do that to yourself. So plus, I don't even know if it's even possible directly, um, but still, don't try not to do that. Unless you absolutely know what you're doing. It's like working with the Windows registry. Unless you absolutely know what you're doing and how you're you know and what it might you know potentially do to your computer. You might not want to mess with the Windows registry. you know Now, some people have worked on it before. Some people can, work with the registry, and that's perfectly fine. They can mess with it all they want to, but they also probably know the risks as well. That if they screw up somewhere along, in the registry, they might, cause some additional problems to their operating system. Okay, so be careful. Um, you know, You can configure the maximum number of events to display with the max trace events to display field. The maximum number of events displayed on screen is important when the tracer file is more than 5,000 lines. If the tracer event returns 5,001 lines of data in the current settings, the display truncates row 1. Enter a 0 in max trace events to display field to download the events without displaying the events on the screen. Any increases to the number of events to display also increases your memory footprint and can impact system performance. So if you increase this up to 10,000, then it's just going to have more of an effect on your overall system. Because it's trying to, not only look at all the events that are happening to fill in that 10,000, but it's also trying to hold on to that information as well. So that's why, memory, system performance could be impacted. So you can configure a breakpoint or a series of breakpoints to focus on an activity or series of activities that you want to trace. When the activity starts, the tracer window highlights the event and tracing is paused. Tracing resumes when you click play or when an hour elapses, whichever occurs first, providing you want the ability to monitor the progress of a configured activity. When a breakpoint stops the tracer, the processing on your thread also stops. Use play to continue processing. In the following example, a breakpoint is configured for the send simple email activity in the work class. The beginning of the step event is highlighted in the display. So set breakpoint, work, send simple email, where to break all steps. Breakpoints are not supported for tracing service rules and applications using React-based UI. So all steps. So hopefully it breaks for them, but breakpoints are not supported for tracing service rules and applications using React-based UI. The watch function is similar to breakpoints, but the watch monitors a specific property value or values to determine if and when the property value changes. This option is useful to check for property values, calculation consistency, and patterns in the trace. Caution. Watch is not supported for tracing service rules and applications using React-based UI. Note: the tracer highlights the property change in yellow and shows a property inspector tool that indicates how the values changed. In the following image, a watch is configured for the property .biweekly salary on the PY work page. You can add other variables to watch or remove selected variables. Close saves the configured variables. The following image shows the property inspector and indicates that the property value changed from 0 to 2083.33. The old value and current value fields in the property inspector update when the property changes value. So, what happens when the application execution encounters a breakpoint defined in tracer? No effect if tracer is on. No. Tracer halts, but application execution continues. No. Application execution halts. A log gets entered for breakpoint values and execution continues. No, it's breakpoint should halt all application execution, because you want to kind of study everything that is occurring at that particular moment in time. You're looking at all the memory and so on and so forth. So, yeah. Now, if this wasn't the answer, then I'd be like, oh, what is going on here? you know, um, breakpoints in other applications would, indeed halt. So if that wasn't the answer, I'd be like, that's weird. But no, it's indeed, you know, application execution halts. So okay, we have our module quiz here. 3 questions. So running a tracer does not impact application performance significantly if the application is already loaded in memory. False. It does. It does impact application performance, no matter what. So, user enters and submits a form response. The Pega platform application returns an error. Using a tracer tool, what can you do to determine the cause of the error in your application? Search for the alert that is reporting the error. You probably could do that. Search for the first fail status and see which step is causing the error. it might not necessarily be showing like a fail status. So search for the form that is causing the error. I mean, that doesn't really work because um, you know, the form might be, you know, used multiple times or something like that. So that might not necessarily work for you. Plus, it doesn't necessarily pinpoint the error directly, so that wouldn't really be very useful, right? Search for the property value causing the error on the PY work page. I mean, you wouldn't really know what property value you're looking for, so this wouldn't really work. Okay, you know that there's, it returns an error, but you don't know exactly, what property value it's causing. So that's more like later on than anything else. Um, um, I don't I don't think it's this one. Um, because fail is a very specific tag to it. And from what I understand, um, the pass or fail isn't necessarily completely tied in with, say errors. So I think it's this one. Nope, incorrect. Okay. Tracer tools does not show alerts that occur. All right. Well, I guess this is the only one. I thought that it would be I thought it would be the other way around, but whatever. All right. Moving on. You want to limit the amount of information displayed in the tracer tool to a specific time an error occurs. Which two of the following methods allow you to limit the amount of information displayed? So, clear the tracer tool after the error occurs? No, because that would clear everything. So that doesn't work. Pause the tracer tool until just before the moment the error occurs. Until just before? Okay. Um, I mean, you wouldn't really know directly when the error is occurring either. So I don't know if there's really a easy way of doing that. Set a breakpoint at the beginning of your application. At the beginning of your application? Why? That sounds god awful. Start the tracer tool just before the moment the error occurs. Sure. Um, um, you don't want that one. You don't want to clear because that removes the error. If it says clear the tracer tool before the error occurs, then sure, that would be fine. Clear out all the, additional information and stuff like that. You know, that's, that would make a little bit more sense, because you're trying to limit the amount of information, but at the same time, the if you're trying to limit the amount of information anyway, then you're already getting the information and then you're trying to remove it afterwards. This doesn't really work in that regard. So um, I don't know. To be honest, I don't think these three are really that great at all. You know, all totaled. Because I mean, start the tracer just before the moment the error occurs. Pause the tracer tool until just before the moment the error occurs. I mean, they're pretty much the exact same thing. You know, um, you know, you're starting the tracer, or you're basically saying, hey, don't don't trace any of the events until just the moment the error occurs. I mean, both of these technically work, um, but um, it's not really that helpful. Now, if it was set a breakpoint at the beginning, you know, right before the error, then that would be perfectly fine. But it doesn't do that. It says at the beginning of your application, which is pointless. The error might be occurring at the very ending of your application. So you're going to be seeing a lot of information being displayed if you set it at the very beginning. So it doesn't really this is pointless. So yeah, okay. They basically considered both of them. Um, Starting the tracer tool just before the moment the error occurs is a good method to limit the amount of information you need to search through, which is true. Pausing the tracer tool until just before the moment the error occurs is a good method to limit the amount of information you need to search through. I mean, both are good, but I mean, um, you know, pausing and starting the tracer tool is pretty much the exact same thing anyway. I mean, they really should have had a little bit more variety in that. Like, hey, either start or pause the tracer until the moment error occurs, and then set a breakpoint, right before. You know, there you go. But all right, we finished it off, and are we done? More question concern about the second. Right. Okay. So they basically said that the second answer or the second question was perfectly fine. Um, which was this one. Um, I just don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it or something like that because, but I'm in my mind. I feel as though the fail status isn't always connected to um, exceptions. Exceptions that occur. You know, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure on that at first, so I don't really know. I mean, they say that it is, but I don't know. It feels as though that's not entirely correct. Oh well. All right. Well, we're done with the module. We're done with that particular part of the module there. We're going to be moving on to the challenge tomorrow, as you saw. Um, Debugging application errors, 20 minutes of development time, according to them. And then we'll be moving on to testing your application, which 6 topics, 1 hour. Yeah, quite a few topics here that they're saying, will take you some time. So that's coming up. And this, if each one of these 15 minutes is going to take me an hour to kind of get through and discuss and, try to retain, that's, you know, 3 hours there easy. And even these 5 minutes sometimes takes, 15 minutes or more in some cases. So, like they might be extremely long topics that they um, don't really you know okay. That will have to be addressed later. All right. But that's going to be it for our Pega um, Pega certification study session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Feel free to leave any kind of comments or questions down below. I say that, if there's ever a question that I'm not 100% sure about, then I can always ask my previous coworkers, what what they might know. So don't feel like you won't get an answer to them. Okay. Now it would be fantastic if this series is covered by a veteran or manager or whomever. Um, and I have questions on a lot of these topics, and um, um, I feel as though it'd be fantastic if we had if I had a little bit more feedback on that, a little bit more help along those lines. If a manager or veteran or someone like that could just kind of um, address those questions, that would be fantastic. But um, obviously that's up to them to address them when they find them in all the videos that I've done so far. So, uh, um, it's a misspelling of clicking their dark ends, and I'll address it when I get to that particular topic. So, plus, they're not going to change it. They're not going to fix it. So, they actually put a period between the C and L. So, um, so yeah, it's not it's not going to change anything. I know it looks off, but they're not going to fix it. They 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 might they might try to fix it, for 8.8 or 23, but they're not going to fix the 8.7. So, believe me, I told them like, hey, there is a you know, there is a like I told them that there was a very simple um uh, misspelling of a word one time, right? I basically put in a suggestion, hey, this word is misspelled. Maybe guys should fix it. And they're like, oh yeah, we okay. Thanks for letting us know about it. We fixed it for 23. I'm like, but what about 8.7? Can you not fix 8.7? It's a simple word correction. you're not changing anything in the translation there, folks. You know, it's a simple go to the page, do a quick change. There you go. You don't have to send it back for translations again. It's the same word. It's like, uh, but oh well. But yeah, the I'll get to it once I'll send in that suggestion when I get to that particular topic. Um, I don't want to send like duplicate suggestions in. That's why I'm not doing it right now, right at this particular moment in time. Okay, because once it might take me a couple days before I get back to that particular topic, and so I might make the mistake in trying to send in that suggestion twice. So I really don't want to do that right now. I'll address it when I get there. It's no big deal. It'll stay there. There, you know, but that unfortunate placement of the period doesn't won't will remain there. So, but yeah, that's going to be it for today's Pega certification studies. I hope that you all enjoyed it. Feel free to give me a like and subscribe. Help me out with the YouTube algorithm. That would be fantastic. Hopefully you're finding some use of these videos for the Pega certification studies. Hopefully you're kind of following along with me on it. We're getting close to the end of the system architect system architect mission. So after that will be a lot of going back over topics, doing mock exams, and just regular like cleanup of your area or anything along those lines. Basically stuff that um, might help you prepare yourself for the certification, at that time. So, um, I found the stream from Discord. I don't know what Pega is. Oh, no worries. They're dark ends. So basically, the Pega is a programming environment. Uh, it is, if you don't know what programming is, I'll try to, or if you have no experience with programming whatsoever, um, then I will try to explain it as best as I can. If you do have programming background, then think of it more along the lines of um, Visual Studio or Eclipse, similar style of interface. It is an application where um, it's meant to make it really easy make a um, to make a product. Okay, so say for example you want a a web app. Like say you want to make like a little phone app. You know, that a customer can use to access their bank accounts or something along those lines. Okay, what Pega does is that um, you can have people that are unfamiliar with programming come in, design the look of the application. They might change the user interface, change, where everything kind of gets positioned, like the logos and so on and so forth here and there around the application. And then you have more the developers, the system architects, or here, let me, you know, the system architects will come in and basically make sure that the information that the customer puts in will be transferred to the bank servers properly, or pulls information from the bank servers and sends it to the person's web or the phone application or something along those lines. So it's a program to to try to make it easy for non-programmers to put in some work on making the application look pretty and um, usable to non-programmers. And then the programmers come in and they will, make sure that it runs the way it should run properly. Like there's no missing of information or transfers of information and so on and so forth. So that that's what the Pega environment is all about. I have a full-on playlist of the you know uh, of the Pega environment. So if you're interested more about it, then um, you know I started from the very start here with the first mission for the low code app builder. You know, so the very first stream video that I made was, I looked at the low code defined and I just went one by one through all these modules and challenges and so on and so forth. And that just basically explains what the Pega environment is all about. If so, if you have a programming background, then you might be interested in doing the system architect, certification if you want to. You know, you don't have to if you don't want to because it's, I mean, environments like these are getting more and more, they are building up more and more, so you'll probably be seeing them more as we continue on in programming, trying to make it easier for non-programmers to do work, in programming. So, um, but if you don't have any interest in programming, if you have no programming background, you don't really want to deal with anything concerning programming, then you can also do the business architect. Okay, the business architect is meant to be like that. Um, it's meant to be more of the bridge between like a business marketing employee, like a marketing employee that just kind of looks at overall like business statistics and so on and so forth. Okay, they're kind of the bridge between those workers and the devs and the system architects. So they will be like talking with the marketer and the marketing business employees, finding out what they need, and then basically talking with the system architects and saying, hey, this is what the client is looking for, kind of thing. So, um, so these are, two potential certifications that you could go for, you can get, and you could, potentially apply for work, with either of these certifications. So, um, and there's other certifications as well. It's not just, the system architect and the business architect. Obviously these are the main ones, the business architect there and the system architect, right? But, there's also, the senior system architect, which is obviously the next step above the default system architect. You have the lead system architect, which is, again, the next step above senior system. Um, you have the robotic system, which is kind of looking more towards, uh, robotic automations, aka, AI, you know, um, discussions and so on and so forth to try to, make your application work a little bit more efficiently. And then, of course, there's the data scientist, um, which is, just trying to figure out like, best decision strategies and so on and so forth. I haven't personally covered this, so Um, and I don't know if I really want to be honest, but that's available if anybody is interested in that. And then you have the decisioning consultant as well. So, for designing principles of decision strategies, next best action, as well as predictive analytics. So, if any of those keywords sounds interesting to you, then those are the different certifications that Pega offers. Um, you can go to the missions and learn up about it. It's free. You can go to this website and sign up for a free account. They don't really limit, or at least to my knowledge, they don't really limit on you you know on what you can sign up for. Now granted, it, ideally it'd be best if you had like the um, employer support. Like they would love to be discussing things more with the employer than anything else. Um, but if you're just kind of doing this on the side, you want to learn everything that there is to learn about this you know business architect or the system architect or something like that, then it's all there. You can tackle it if you want to. So, and they have exams, um, you know, pretty much all the time for the most part. You just have to, you know, set up when you want to take the exam for the certification, and hopefully you'll pass it. You know, um, it's not completely easy. Just bear in mind, the certifications. So, because you know, you have 60 questions that covers, all the topics: case management, data integration, security, DevOps, user experience, application and development, reporting, mobility, you know, um, and you're not quite sure exactly what, you know, is going to be asked in there. You have an hour and 30 minutes to do it, and if you get below the 65%, then you will fail the certification exam and you will lose the $175 for it. So, but um, if you want to take the exam, you definitely can attempt it if you want to. So yeah. Hopefully that helps you out if you had any interest in it. So, um, but yeah. All right. But that's going to be it for today's Pega session. I'm going to go into video uploads now. Um, so I want to thank you all for joining me on this study session. Hopefully you appreciated it. Hopefully you uh, uh, got some good information out of it. Feel free to leave any kind of comments or concerns or constructive criticism or anything along those lines in the comments below if you're watching this video later. And that's it. That's where we're going to go ahead and close on down. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully I catch you next time. But until then, take care. Have a good night. Stay healthy. Stay safe. And I'll catch you strangers next time.